what the Trump administration is trying to do is to weaponize the census so that they can use it to undercount people in California and other states with high immigrant populations.
We're not going to stop, and we're going to defend every one of our rights to make sure that every one of our people who's worked hard to make California the 6th largest economy in the state is counted.
The census is not a political tool for hyper-partisan activity, and that's exactly what the Trump administration is trying to do.
Democrats fighting back over fears that the new citizenship question on the 2020 census could put the party out of power. This as more than a dozen states plan to file lawsuits against the Trump administration over the census change. Here now is Baltimore Mayor Catherine Pugh, a Democrat and chairman of the U.S. Conference of Mayors Census Task Force, who says the White House has politicized and compromised a process mayors rely on to deliver essential services to their cities. Mayor, good evening to you. Thank you for coming on the program tonight.
Good evening to you as well.
Why do you want this question removed?
Well, let me just say, when we met in February, there were 161 mayors from around the country, both Democrat and Republican, and we all discussed this issue around making sure that everyone in our country is counted. And in fact, we sent a letter to our secretary to say, this is not a political issue. It has not been on the census before. Why are we doing something that is not what we normally do? And when we talk about the resources that result from the count, this is a count that affects us, as you well know, for a 10-year period. Everyone who is in this country should be counted so that we can make sure that the resources that are needed in the communities in which they exist are shared properly.
Let me ask you a question, and I take no sides on this issue. I'm just a journalist. Okay. But I think it's important to get a couple things out of the way when getting your viewpoint here. Do you view President Trump as anti-immigrant?
For me, this is not about President Trump. What this is about is making sure.
No, it's just a question because it does involve concern over citizens and status in this country. And it's just a simple question so I can move on to ask you other questions.
Well, again, I don't have an opinion about what Mr. Trump is anti or for. What my opinion is based on is my conversation that we had as the chair of the U.S. Conference of Mayors.
And I'll tell you why I asked that question, Mayor.
With 161, can I finish, please?
Sure.
We had 161 mayors from across this country, both Democrat and Republican, who discussed this issue. We sent a letter saying, please, let's be fair. Let's make sure we count everyone in this country. And so that's what we want. I mean, that's what the letter says, and we're really grateful that Congress appropriated additional monies to make sure that we do this count. So we don't want the integrity of the census to be compromised.
I'm just wondering if that perception was not out there by some, many in your party. I wonder if this question would be an issue. I mean, what's so scary about that question?
Well, let me just say, this is not just about my party, the Democratic Party. The 161 mayors are not just Democrats, they're Republicans as well. They too have asked that we make sure that this census is not compromised, that we focus on making sure that we count everyone in this country so that resources are appropriated properly. Because as you well know, those resources go to infrastructure, they go to schools, they go to community development, and all those things are important to all of us, whether we're Democrats or whether we're Republicans.
Wilbur Ross from the Department of Commerce, obviously he's the one who laid this out, and he says the data would help the Department of Justice enforce the Voting Rights Act, which protects minority voting rights. Shouldn't we collect and have the most accurate data, accurate citizenship data in this country that we possibly can? Do you have a problem with any of the other questions that are asked in that census? Have you looked at all of them?
Yes, but here's my point. And here's the point of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. When we met in February, we had another leadership meeting in March. Our point is that we do not want the census to be politicized. We don't want people undercounted in this country. The Statue of Liberty that stands in the harbor of New York,
I think people are just trying to understand, Mayor.
And
with all due respect, Mayor, I think people are just trying to understand, from your viewpoint, how this has been politicized. Why is this a political decision to you? Why is this question a political choice by this administration? How are you coming up with that?
I don't know that, first of all, I don't know that it's a political choice of this administration. I think you brought up the question early on. You said, what did I think of Trump's opinion of immigrants? And that was not a part of the response that I was giving you. My response is based on our meeting in February with the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and again, our leadership meeting in March. This was not about political party. And in fact, if you look at the membership of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, it's both Democrat and Republican. And we came to the conclusion that this is not an appropriate question for the census, that we ought to be focused on making sure that we count everyone in this country because they contribute to the economic fiber of our society.
And the administration says that they've tested these questions, and the Census Bureau has tested these questions. There's no evidence or no definitive empirical support to believe what the case that you all are making in this. We'll see where this goes, Mayor. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Well, we look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mayor Pugh from Maryland.